So you see, ladies and gentlemen, I don't want to do another musical intro because I think it could be getting kind of old soon. It's time to record another Batman freaking video. I don't know why, maybe it's just because I have questions to answer. I don't know why. I mean, people are starting to complain and, you know. Said to another Catwoman, I'm lucky to met you. I don't care what you think unless you come to my Batcave. I mean, they could skip the intro, but maybe they have a point. I'm not like them, but I can pretend. My name is Bruce freaking Wayne. I can blend in with Gotham citizens, but really I'm freaking Batman. I'm freaking Batman. I'm freaking Batman. I'm freaking Batman. The Riddler is killing people. It's my job to find him, but there's lots to uncover, like the Court of Owls. I'm just joking. I don't even know if the Court of Owls are in the movie. I think I'm Batman. 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 Ladies, gentlemen, bats, Gothamites, I don't know, welcome to a brand new The Batman video. If you are brand new here today, and in other videos as well, we talk about the Batman, and just don't be mistaken, what we do here is we theorize, we speculate, we may talk about some recent news, if there are any, and when I say news, you know, it's kind of like all the leaks and the Hot Wheels toy leaks, you know, we cover stuff like that, but we also just try and keep the hype alive. I just love interacting with you guys, you submit your questions week after week, and we just talk about it and go over possibilities. So once again, welcome to another video. It's great to have you here. Like it. If you did enjoy it, I know YouTubers must ask you that all the time, but I seriously mean it. Like it. If you're one of those people who watches these videos, it really does help promote YouTubers' videos out into the algorithm, and without that, it really doesn't. The algorithm is the algorithm. Trust me, it's an untamable beast, but you can do your part by hitting like. And just before we get into today's discussion, I want to give a big shout out to my patrons and channel members appearing on the screen right now. You guys really do help me out each month, continue what I'm doing here on the channel, and just support me doing what I love to do. Seriously, and I really appreciate every single one of the names appearing on screen. And if you want to become a member or join Patreon today, the links will be in the top pinned comment in the comment section, which is my comment. You can't miss it. So question number 1 from James Edwards. Boba impresses me, every time with how he can play the guitar. And Boba, thank you. Seriously, thank you. How much do you personally want Batman's gadgets and tech to improve throughout the trilogy? Such an interesting question, and we've been through almost different iterations of stuff like this in previous videos, but not quite this one, because it's quite a loaded one. Let me put it this way. In movie 1, especially when you look at that cave, I reckon Bruce is going to have, well, let me clarify this by premising 1 year, 6 months in. Matt Reeves has stated that himself. Bruce Wayne returned to Gotham from his travels across the world, which, you know, you can assume he's done in this iteration. It's always that in every iteration, but it's like, how much of a disappearance did he go on? See what I mean? I'm already tangenting right now, if that's even a word. But like 1 year, 6 months in, Batman Year 2, still very, I don't want to say newbie at all, because he's not a noob. I mean, for crying out loud, I wouldn't want to meet Batman in an alleyway or anything. But he hasn't got the Batwing. He's got the Batmobile, but it's still not mega technological, even though I freaking love this Batmobile. He hasn't even got Batarangs as far as I'm aware. I'm not saying he doesn't. And for example, I wanted to bring this up, that Hot Wheels toy. When you see him in the corner, the logo, I'm not showing it in this video, but there's a leaked Hot Wheels toy. I'm sure you've all seen it. And there's like the little Batman image in the corner. He's wearing the same suit. Just to clarify this, some people think that's a different suit. It's not. It's just a digitized, you know, version put onto the cardboard. But you can't quite make out what he's holding here. He's like in the stance like that, if you know what I mean. Now, what I think he's actually holding is his version of the grapple hook. I don't think it actually will look like this, but I think he's holding it like that rather than a Batarang. I think a lot of people think it's a Batarang, and I'm not saying it isn't. It's just you can't tell on the detail, but it could be his grapple hook. You know, freaking... yeah. Story of my life. Now, the reason why I mention that is because a lot of people think that it's a Batarang, and it could be. And I don't see why he wouldn't have Batarangs if he's got the Bat emblem. It's just, you know, going off of what Matt Reeves is doing here with the way he looks, it's a lot of kind of put together tactical gear, military gear, makeshift stuff that he's done himself, obviously. And he's got the kind of ninja thingies. I've already forgot the name. People corrected me on that in last week's episode of this. But I think they might be the projectiles, at least initially. But I wouldn't be surprised, going back to your question, that in the Batcave and what I was mentioning earlier, there's different sets of projects and different stages of work. There may be schematics for all kinds of things. Maybe they might even include amazing Easter eggs, like where the camera might glance over a schematic for like a Bat submarine or something. Now, I don't think that gets too cheesy for this almost grounded yet fantastical movie that we are getting, but that's amazing. Do you know what I mean? I would be down with that, because some people may be like, yeah, but like really, we Robert Pattinson's Batman have like a Bat submarine or something? But it'll be big homages to and tributes to former like Batman, you know, material. Why wouldn't he just use Batarangs? You know, if he's already got the emblem. But we haven't seen it yet. We haven't even seen it on his person. And the one thing we can observe is that he's got the forearm little thingies, and they're projectile things. So he could use those, and then I kind of love that idea because it shows that Bruce is continuously developing throughout this trilogy, and that is 100% a fact. And, you know, it pertains to your question because it is literally, we're going to see so many developments, suits, vehicles. The Batmobile is most certainly going to get upgrades in some shape or form. And what would I personally want to see with techs and gadgets? I mean, obviously the suit in some way, but not too much of a massive overhaul, because I really do love this suit. I love it to pieces. It's incredible. We've got things like the wingsuit and stuff, potentially. Like, I've got so many differing opinions on that wingsuit scene where he's like, when they were filming and he was like leaning over and stuff on the tower top. Bottom line, I just wanted to slowly and incrementally upgrade to what we're familiar with. I don't want them to go overboard because I feel like Matt Reeves here is kind of keeping a grounded universe, yet there will be fantastical elements that has been described before. What I mean by that is people like Mr. Freeze, even Clayface or Poison Ivy, to be more accurate, aren't out of the question. But what does that mean for technology? I think we're going to see subtle improvements that will be really awesome to see, that are believable. When we get Lucius Fox in, if we get him at all, by the way, like, if we get him at all, we might not see him until the third movie. That I kind of might even like that. I like to see Bruce tackle all of this by himself and make changes with Alfred. That's why I love this raw look of the Batcave, several different projects going on. And I know I haven't really answered your question here properly, but I just want to see slow progress, and when progress is made, it matters. I don't want to see just a bunch of shite chucked in because, oh look, Batman's got all of these things in the source material, so let's just swab it all to Bruce Wayne in year 2. I don't think I'd like that. Even in year 3, I mean, depending on how much of a time jump there is in the second film, and this applies to the third film, I can understand some improvements, but I still want it to happen in a believable way, and I don't want this Batman to actually have a lot of reliance on mad tech. And I know that sounds stupid because this is Bruce Wayne the billionaire. Trust me, I get it, because a lot of you could think, or a lot of you may have read material where Bruce Wayne, obviously, you know, he's rich. So that's how, with his money, he can afford so many useful things through tech. But I also really love this approach of Batman that Matt Reeves is doing, where, don't get me wrong, this guy's rich, and you can see that, but it's almost in a more believable sense, in the sense that, yes, he's got this kind of military tech gear on, and he's fashioned it into his own Bat image, but, like, other stuff is just going to be believable. Like, the muscle car is modified with guns and protection, and bulletproof tires, probably, as much as he can do, but you don't necessarily see a massive, like, Arkham Knight screen on his gauntlet where he can see the overlay of Gotham City. Granted, on his gauntlet, he does have a almost similar, not a similar watch to this, the screen's actually tiny, but that's what I mean, it's like a tiny watch, or at least you can see some tiny interface on his wrist. That's what I mean, it's more believable to me, and it makes me feel like this Batman, I have more pride on behalf of him. Does that make sense? Because the way he's carrying things out, he is equipped, but not as equipped as what we can see with Batman and other iterations, where it's almost very believable how successful he is. I like how this is going to be a Batman who succeeds, probably more because of how he endures and perseveres rather than his tech. You know you're passionate about Batman when you've been talking so much. You need to have a coffee break. You know how it is. Next question from Slade, the Deathstroke. It might have been mentioned before, but Batman narrating in the trilogy would be great, and it would differentiate itself from the other Batman films. Yeah, so I included this one because it's not a question, but it's just like I need to kind of remind everyone that that's a possibility. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but since this is more of a noir, and specifically, quote-unquote, to what Matt Reeves says, point-of-view driven Batman tale. Point of view, you know, it just tells me like, oh god, how good would it be if he did actually narrate? Like I'm not being cheesy right now. Like, seriously, imagine it in a noir kind of, I think I said last week's video, LA Noire. Any of you played LA Noire? It's like, I can't articulate right now, but I'm not saying it has to be over every scene, and it will be formulaic to what you may expect of a typical movie, but every now and again, when there's a chapter, or maybe there's a progression point, when Bruce is reflecting, and, you know, tying Batman ego into this, which Matt Reeves has said is a huge part of this movie, and that's all about the psyche. You have to think at certain increments in this film and chapters, there will be introspective talking and discussion, aka commentary from the Batman himself, and that's just, oh god, the potential is just, it's fucking unreal. Like, seriously, it's just... Alright, next. Freaking get out of my face here. Like, I know, I could just get it cut, and I've been meaning to, but here we are, I'm a lazy man. Anyway, the next question's from Isaac. Isaac Esperilla, do you think we'll get flashbacks to Bruce's younger years, perhaps like year one, where he has a bad outing? Also, can we get a setup or room tour video? It looks sick from what we can see. Yeah, maybe. I funnily enough, I think I did like a room tour, this same room, like years ago, maybe like 3 years ago on this channel? Maybe I did, I don't know, maybe one day, I don't know. I mean, all of this is getting dusty. Like, I haven't dusted it. Yeah, people keep pointing out how my UCS Millennium Falcon has been in the same stage of development for like a year, and that's true. And, no, yeah, this isn't really a room tour, but maybe I will do one day. But anyway, your question. Yeah, I would love to see that. So I want to shout out an artist. You may see me in my thumbnails use artists' work, of course, with their permission. Huge shout out to Will Gray Art on Instagram, but also Smart Sheep Art. Now, the reason why I want to mention Smart Sheep Art is because he kind of did a frame-by-frame comic book panel recreation of, you know, when Batman, I believe, you know, doesn't he confront the mob in year one, and he's just like, he's terrifying them because it's the Bat, the Bat of Gotham. This technically would have already happened by the time we're watching the Batman, because we're 1 year, 6 months in, so we're in year 2. But pertaining to your question of flashbacks, I would love to see this. I don't want mad flashbacks, so, you know, I think people are going to ask, well, they already have asked about, will we see the Waynes? And I've talked about that before, and how I don't want to see a proper flashback, but I don't mind, like, a swipe across the screen of, like, a scarring memory that Bruce has, and it's just a gunshot. And the pearls, maybe not the pearls, that's rubbing it in a bit too much, but you get what I'm trying to say. I'll be fine with that, but we don't need the whole, you know, BVS intro walking out of the cinema and stuff like that. However, flashback to some of his earlier days, that would be pretty awesome, especially this scene. And yeah, so you're seeing on screen right now again, And that is Smart Sheep Art's recreation of it. I'm showing the original comic book panel, and it's incredible. Go follow him on Instagram. Go follow him on Twitter. He's definitely one of the best concept artists out there right now. And yeah, like, if you want to just see some cool shit on your feed to do with the Batman and plenty of other things, by the way, follow him. And these other artists like Missouri Art, Will Gray 06, and probably other places, but I'm forgetting off the top of my head. To answer your question, that would be pretty awesome. And I would like to see something like what I've shown you. Next question is from Prime Boy 125. Bruce Wayne and Kurt Cobain share champagne. If none of you know what that is, it's a thing I do. Like, I actually don't want to say what it is, because the real ones know what the heck these random comments are when they put them in the comment section. So yeah. Anyway, moving on. Hey, Boba, love your channel, dude. I have a question. Thank you. Very much. I have a question to ask. What type of scene or concept you would love to add to this movie? To give an example, in my case, I'd love to see a reference to the Batman, the animated series opening. Like the scene where Batman chases those two criminals using the Batmobile, totally, as an ending shot to show us as an established Batman roaming in Gotham City. I'd love to hear your suggestion. This is very off the cuff. I probably, when editing this, would have thought of a much more brilliant idea, but I agree with you with that. That'd be cool. And it's kind of like reminiscent of what I've said before. This movie is called The Batman. Yes, he is the Batman technically throughout it, but I don't think he's going to be the Batman until the end of the film. Like, he's going to be so imperfect. You know, all the traditional stuff that I've reiterated from Reeves. He's so imperfect. He's this, that, but he's still that. He's not this, but he's this, you know. That would be a great way of depicting that. I definitely agree. In a more kind of modern and more blunt kind of approach, that would suit the film. And as for me, what kind of concept would I love to add to this movie? Or what kind of scene? It's very hard, because this is why I'm so in love with this vision, because just from that 25 to 30% of the trailer that they shot, 25 to 30% of the film that they shot that was put into the DC Fandom trailer look, showed some scenes that I just really loved. I think, you know, not to sound so cliche with, you know, what I've been speaking about before, and I always freaking reference this, it's just because I've done Bible study when it comes to this, you know, when looking into what Matt Reeves has said about inspirations and stuff. Let me wind back a couple of seconds, back to the trailer. I love the scene at the very end where he takes the cowl off and he's looking down and he's just looking up like that. And obviously there's something on the screen. We can't proper tell what it is. He may have come back after a bloody rough time. I even predict that that scene in the cave, by the way, when he's taking the cowl off, could have been when he's just returned after, like, you know, basically, remember that scene in the trailer where he's grappling up from the GCPD? The cops are shooting at him. And then we have the filming of where, like, he wingsuits off or whatever that is. I reckon it could have been an exhausting moment and evening for him. And he comes back after that. I mean, I obviously have no way of knowing that. And hands up if I'm wrong, by the way. But remember this moment. It could be after that, when we watch the film. Tangent aside, I love that scene because it just shows so much about the psychology. Matt Reeves has already explained about how much we're going to get into that. So I just kind of want to see more scenes like that. Now, as for Ego, I don't know if Reeves will go for like a physical, I mean, you probably can't see it, but actual physical representation of a bat CGI'd in the cave. That could very well be a possibility. They may just keep it to a voice in his head or something like that, because obviously Bruce isn't necessarily the most stable person. But to be fair, there's this one scene in Ego, and by the way, I've explained this all in my Batman Ego and why it's so important to the Batman movie. Definitely check it out. I really am proud of that video, and it doesn't even get as many views as like these videos, so check it out if you haven't already. It also goes over Riddler theory stuff. But either way, there's a scene where Batman, and maybe I'm showing it on screen now, where he wants to save this person, this kind of criminal, who's kind of running away out of fear of his life. Because if I remember correctly, he told Batman about the Joker's location or something, and he's now thinking, oh shite, like, I'm gonna die. And he goes up to the rooftop, and Batman's there, like, goes after him, and like, because of the decision Batman made, more or less, like, this guy jumps off and ends his own life. And Bruce, that's kind of what kickstarts his whole mental breakdown in Ego and this kind of existential crisis about how they're going to move forward. You know, Batman, Ego himself, the Batman creature inside his head, wants to kill, but Bruce Wayne wants to push forward with not killing, and they need to compromise. But the guilt that he feels, after, you know, this guy's a criminal, don't get me wrong, Bruce knows that, but like he feels responsible for that guy doing that to himself, like, and him fearing for his whole family and whatnot. I didn't explain it nearly well enough, but I would love to see maybe Bruce, it's probably not going to be included, but some kind of guilt thing. And this could be portrayed completely differently to Ego, but it's got the same principles. So, for example, in the comic, guy jumps off the roof, kills himself, and Batman's like, he wouldn't have done that if I didn't pressure him for the information about Joker and stuff. Like, my actions have consequences, holy crap. But in this movie, what could they do? Maybe Batman is trying to get there just in time, similar to Jason Todd death kind of thing, or maybe he's doing one of the Riddler's saw maze kind of trap theatrical kind of things that we're definitely going to get in this movie. There's so much Riddler theatrical stuff we haven't seen yet, and I think that guilt is going to really weigh heavily on him. And then going back to that scene, when he looks up and you see that torturing and just hardship in his face, yeah, I think that's kind of what I want to see. I want them to go into... No, obviously, they're going into the hardship of Batman in this movie, don't get me wrong, and the psyche. That's self-explanatory, we know that much now. But without repeating myself too much more, I would like to see a tribute to that scene in the comic of what I just described, but maybe shown through another death that happens in the movie, and Bruce kind of has to realize that he can't save everyone, or maybe it's not even that, maybe an action of his own got someone else killed, albeit maybe a criminal. He still has to live with that, and that kind of thing makes him think like crap, and then the whole ego stuff happens maybe. I don't know. That's just off the top of my head idea, but yeah. Over to you guys in the comments, I guess, now. And we've been filming so long, the camera battery is dying. It's literally flashing red, so let's exchange it. Next question from Ronald 11. Bruce Wayne and Kurt Cobain sharing champagne. Thank you, Ron, and the previous Prime Boy for being real ones on the channel. Bruce Wayne and... but anyway, question for your next video. How do you think this trilogy will handle the Playboy Bruce Wayne persona? Do you think Pattinson will learn to use his identity as a mask? Keep up the good work, man. I love the content. Greetings from Brazil. Greetings, and thank you so much. Sorry, I'm just... Even as I was replying that to you, the other part of my brain was thinking about the question. I think I've kind of spoke about this before. I think it's... I don't know if it's deliberate. This is the very important thing. That... what we've seen so far is Bruce Wayne not having the mask perfected. That would make sense because he's 1 year, 6 months in. It kind of is almost like an oversight, I feel, on Bruce Wayne's behalf. Obviously, that is understandable because he's kind of a bit of a noob. But like what I'm trying to say is that scene where he's like staring at the DA. Everyone else is running away, but Bruce Wayne standing there. I'm not saying that is mega risky because that doesn't mean that anyone's going to put, oh, that guy's Batman together at all. It just means that, for example, like what we've seen with Christian Bale swimming around in the hotel lobby swimming pool, get out of there, sir. Oh, I just brought your hotel, or whatever it was, right? I do believe that he will learn to use his identity more as a mask throughout the trilogy. 100%. Matt Reeves will 100% show scenes, public outings of Bruce at some point of him maybe not acting like how he really is at all. But I think we're going to have a lot more Batman in this film versus Bruce, but that's why I said the whole trilogy, by the way. As of the film, it's hard for me to determine if he already is doing stuff like that, because based on what we've seen so far, it doesn't seem like it, because he's looking pretty pissed when he's looking at the card saying to the Batman on Gil Colson, who's like, help me, oh, yeah, help. He couldn't act more pissed if he tried. Now, that is, as I said, quite an oversight. It doesn't, as I say, maybe, I mean, if we're being realistic, why would anyone think that means he's Batman? So maybe he doesn't have to do that, but I still think it's important for him to make deliberate attempts in his public persona to distance himself from ever being speculated about his identity and connection to being Batman. Now, you could say his attendance to the funeral is that because we see him get out the car as Bruce Wayne in a very swanky car. Reporters are talking about Bruce Wayne. But I still don't think that public outing is an outing as to what I was just referring to that we need to see in the future, because Bruce would have attended that regardless because he's worried that that might be the next target. Lo and behold, it was. So I think we still need other appearances, though, just like what we saw from Christian Bale at some point in the trilogy where it deliberately shows him attending I don't know, like socialite-esque activities. And that could be a way as to how he meets Miss Selina Kyle. But then again, let me wind back on that, because he would have met her at the church, the cathedral, sorry. One thing I wanted to add to that as well is I really want reporters to still asking him about, why did you return to Gotham, Bruce? Maybe not though, because the thing is, this billionaire Bruce Wayne is such a huge thing for Gotham. For him coming back, like the prodigal son returns almost. Like, he disappeared. Nobody probably thought too much of it, because they probably thought it was a tragic case and, you know, his parents died, and, you know, fair enough if he wants to go wherever and disappear from Gotham. But he returned 1 year, 6 months ago, and yeah, probably all those headlines would have been made, right? It would have been cool, back to that flashback question. If you get like a flashback, swipe across the screen of like that. I don't know though, that's almost getting a bit... It's injecting almost too much in the veins. You want to be a bit more nuanced about it, I suppose. But it would still be cool if Bruce is almost maybe not actually interacted too much with the public since then. And that's deliberate. Well, not on his behalf, but on the movie making side, because he'll realize that he needs to separate himself from Batman. Maybe he's actually ignorant to that, and he's going out as Batman. He's not making much of an effort to do anything for Bruce, but actually he's going full in for Batman. But he will learn that he does need to, and that might be still why reporters still ask, hey Bruce, Master Wayne, or whatever, Mr. Wayne, because they don't really see much of this mysterious figure, and that would be pretty cool. But you know, there's so many different ways this can go that are so similar, but you know, paint slightly different strokes. I really want to see something to do with Bruce Wayne returning to Gotham, even though that was a year and a half ago by now. The next question is from Blink-182 Top Fan, not new here, but now I'm starting to think of questions to add to your discussions. Are we hoping for at least 2 post-credit scenes or more? And also, do you think, forgive me if it's been talked about already, the Bat will have a different suit by the end, or at least tease another suit? I don't know if it'll be in a different suit entirely, but I do 100% expect to see makings of other suits, if not already fully completed, partially, as I said, in the project or in the works. Maybe we will get another suit. We've seen something like a wingsuit. We don't know yet how that quite works, because he was wearing his suit and it's like it zips up. There's been theories that maybe the cape goes around like that and it like zips up, but like, well, that's a cool concept. I don't think that works, because you can see his cape. It would have like a zip line down the side of it. I don't know if that would make so much sense, but that would be pretty dope. But they would have to pull it off in such an aesthetically pleasing way that doesn't look newbie-esque. You know, wingsuit so he can glide throughout Gotham. And that's like such a realistic, cool way of portraying a Batman gliding. But at the same time, I don't know if I like the wingsuit being in his utility belt, and that means he has to quickly, when he's escaping from the GCPD at the top of the freaking building, let's just say that's the GCPD building, because he grappled his whole way up, he's like quickly trying to get it on, you know, zip it up. That just seems a bit, I don't know. So we have to wait there. But yes, they will have teasers for another suit, 100%. It just depends, will the actual other suit feature in this movie? But we will have subtle other suits, I think, like the wingsuit. Maybe through that explosion, as other people have thought, in the cathedral that blasts him back. Maybe he needs to put something else on, who knows. But as for post-credit scene, the reason why I chose this question to put in the video, just, you know, out of interest, because I don't think I've ever considered post-credit scenes. Now, just based on vibes, I feel like this is kind of movie that maybe Matt Reeves wouldn't put a post-credit scene in, but since it's a trilogy, I think it will. And plus, modern day superhero films do have post-credit scenes, but that's why I was winding back on that a bit, because this isn't exactly a Shazam or like a DCU type modern day colorful film set in that timeline and that continuity where they would tease the next thing. Even though there's so much more to tease in this trilogy, you don't have exactly Batman Begins doing that, if you know what I mean. I mean, you had that end scene which set it up. But do you get what I'm trying to say? Is this is such a pocket universe thing. This is like an artistic almost. I'm not saying it's as of a character study as what Joker was and how that was an Elseworlds film, but this is such a different thing where it's almost like I almost feel like Matt Reeves doesn't feel like he has to put post-credit scenes in. Maybe the tease of the narrative itself by the end of the movie would set up the next movie. But would I like to see a post-credit scene? I don't know, maybe. I know that sounds so stupid, but it's like, why wouldn't I want to? I think it would have to be such a mysterious tease, because whatever Reeves has planned for the next film, obviously he's marked it up, it's planned. Maybe something in this film, this is probably a bad example because I don't necessarily think Joker's could be the second villain, but let's just say, for argument's sake, very hypothetically, that he does visit Joker in this film in Arkham. He's already in it, but has a very minimal role, but the post-credit scene teases him as a laugh or something like that, and that insinuates, oh, there's absolutely no plot or what we can guess as to why he'll be in the next film or what would happen, but his laugh insinuates, oh, he's coming back for more in the second film. So that would be like a very mysterious, ambiguous, nuanced kind of tease, and that's the most I would expect. I don't think he would be like, okay, new villain getting out the car, rolling into town, saying like, okay, like ventriloquist, start speaking. No, I don't think that will happen. So I just wouldn't be surprised if Reeves doesn't include one and it's just explained or teased through the movie, like at the end of Batman Begins or something. Next question's from Lego Batman and another Bruce Wayne and Coca Bane sharing the champagne. Thank you very much, Lego Batman. Thank you so much for being one of the real ones on this channel. Do you think Catwoman will get a new suit at some point in the trilogy, like maybe one that is similar to the New 52 suit? So yeah, 100%. And the reason why I chose this one, like, of course she is. The more she gets to know Bruce, I think he will outfit her with something better. Maybe, but probably not, actually, because Selina could probably do that. Who knows? Who knows? You know, one thing I think that we're starting to maybe consider now because of another leak with Selina Kyle showing basically, I think it's like another toy leak, similar thing to what I was talking about earlier. They put the character art in the corner, the Hot Wheels car is there kind of thing, and this time it was Selina. And interestingly enough, they decided to show her in the same suit as what we've seen in the film. And it's not exactly a suit, but it's so perfectly done. It's like she's putting, you know, some black leathery kind of stuff on, you know, to try and, you know, remain stealthy. Her, like, disguise for her face is like a mask, which the two little points of, like, you know, the beanie, so to speak, are like pointing up like cat ears. I love that. But I think people are expecting for a full, okay, that's just a proto kind of Catwoman look. She will get like, but no, what if we don't actually get another one? I would be absolutely fine with that. She's still Catwoman, but she's not Catwoman yet, as Matt Reeves says himself. So what if, as we've seen in the 25 to 30% of the trailer, most of the time we see her, she's in the same getup when she's in Catwoman mode. When she's like riding on the motorcycle, this, that, and the other. So I wouldn't be surprised if that is the Catwoman look we get. Another clue to that is what I just said, the tease of the toy. She's not wearing like a new cat suit. It's still the kind of beanie type where it's like pointing out like two cat ears in a silhouette. Like if you look at that in a silhouette, you wouldn't know the difference between that and a cat suit, which is the cool thing, like in a shadow, right? But I don't think anyone should be disappointed by that, given the premise of this film, given how nobody is who they are yet, as Reeves said. He's called Oz like Penguin. He doesn't like being called Penguin, but evidently he's going to like it by the second film or whatever. Same with Selina. You get my drift. So she will get another suit, of course. But the question is it in this movie? And I think Batman has more of a chance of getting a new look rather than Selina in this movie. But that's just my gut telling me that. I could be wrong. But it looks like, for now, she could just be keeping the beanie look, and then, you know, she'll upgrade throughout the trilogy. Right, ladies and gentlemen, I really wanted to answer some of the next questions. Like, trust me, I thought I might have, but I'm going to call it here. My Audacity's been recording for 56 minutes. This video probably isn't that long, but I got quite a bit of an edit ahead of me. So I'm going to call it here. But thank you so much for watching to this part of the video. I really appreciate it. I just love talking about this. I love the enthusiasm that you guys reciprocate in the comment section. I read every single comment. I know everyone probably doesn't believe people or YouTubers when they say that, but believe me, I do. So, as you guys know, I heart comments, but only specific comments. So if you've made it to this part of the video, and as I always say, I make it up off the top of my head, so they're strange, okay? But maybe this one isn't as strange. So, hashtag, type along with whatever comment you're typing, hashtag, Brucey Baby is becoming quite the celebrity. But yeah, maybe that will do. And I'll heart every last comment that does that. And yeah, maybe subscribe if you want to see more videos like this, especially if you're new. There's always going to be more Batman content, just like this, like in-between filler content. And of course, news updates, breakdowns. But other than that, if you want to support me more on the channel, I do want to plug this. I do have a Patreon where you can help support me make these videos even more, and maybe the join button on the channel. I have a Discord server. Twitter is my main place where I hang out, other than my Discord server. Next Batman video, it will be out. I do not know when. I don't want to milk this. I know you guys love it, but there may be another gap again at some point. For example, before a few videos ago, I did like 2 or 3 of these a few months before that, and I think I left it 2 or 3 months before I started this, like season 2, if that makes sense. Because I did like season 1, let's just say that, I did like 3 or 4 parts, and then season 2 we're now up to part 6. So I might give it another break. I don't want to like butcher the algorithm. But then again, if you're so against that, I need to hear you scream it down in the comments below. But yeah, I've had a really good time today, so I hope you have as well. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you all have a lovely rest of your day, and I'll see you, fellow Bat family, in the next video. And cue the outtake, I guess. I'm not like them, but I can pretend. The sun is gone, but I have a light. The day is done, but I'm having fun. I think I'm dumb, maybe just happy. Think I'm just happy. Think I'm just happy. Think I'm just happy.